Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is October 15th, 2025. And Jorge Mendes, the super agent, was in Barcelona where he met with Deco. We're going to discuss what that means. Also, Barcelona are currently eyeing Juventus sensation Kenan Yıldız. And finally, Raphinha, talking about how he considered leaving Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News Live Podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All this helps the channel continue to grow. It makes me feel good. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Kit Bag, or Fanatics, where you can also buy merchandise from other football teams or other sports teams, not just Barcelona. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, you can head to Bet Us, where you can place bets not on just Barcelona matches, but on all sporting events around the world. All the links are in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers that otherwise you don't get access to if you don't click on the link. Like if you go directly to those websites, you don't get the access to the offers, but if you use the links, you do. Anyways, having said all that, let's begin with the news because today, ladies and gentlemen, Frenkie de Jong officially signed his contract renewal with Barcelona until 2029. Now, this is something I had already told you about, that an agreement had been reached and that the plan was for this to become official on October 15th. And well, lo and behold, today, Frenkie de Jong at the Barcelona offices put pen to paper, extending his contract from the summer of 2026. He was set to expire at the end of the season until the summer of 2029. So 3 more years for Frenkie de Jong, who, by the way, signed for Barcelona back in, was it 2018, 2019? I think it was 2019. So once his contract is up, he would have been a full decade at Barcelona. Now, with this contract renewal also comes an increased release clause. It's now worth 500 million euros. If I'm not mistaken, it used to be 400 million euros. And it also comes with a reduction in salary. However, Frenkie de Jong will still be one of the highest paid players on the squad. They're saying around 20 million euros gross, which is around 10 million euros net, something around what Pedri and Raphinha earn. Because, you know, right now there's kind of like a pyramid or a scale of players. At the top, we have Coutinho. Sorry, not Coutinho. Lamine, the other GOAT. And I think Lewy. And then in the second scale, we have players like Raphinha, Pedri, and Frenkie de Jong. Now, of course, Frenkie de Jong did have some statements during this official contract signing, this official presentation. He started, of course, his first statements were discussing how happy he was to renew with Barcelona by saying, as I've always said, I've always dreamed of playing for Barca. Now that I'm living that dream, I want to follow it for many more years and get more titles. I've always wanted to be at Barca. Now that I am, I want to continue as much as possible. I feel very good in the club, in the city, with the colleagues, with the board of directors. I want to be much more. So, of course, nothing surprising there. Frenkie talking about how happy he is to renew, how it's always been his dream, pretty much what all the players say, and how he wants to win many more titles. And, of course, I hope that his wish becomes true because that means that team wins more titles, right? And, of course, that's what I want to see. I want to see my team winning as many more titles as possible. Now, Frenkie de Jong did discuss the whole salary situation. As you know, for a while, Frenkie de Jong was not only the highest paid player on the squad, but he was also the highest paid player in the entire Spanish league. Partly was because he did agree to defer his salary during COVID. And when you defer your salary, you're agreeing that you get paid part of your salary now, the other part you get paid later, right? So those deferrals were split over future years back in 2020. So that's why his salary was high, but also because he did have a very, very high contract. He had an ascending contract where every year his salary would get higher and higher and higher, not to mention all the bonuses and variables and all that ridiculous stuff that Bartomeu used to agree to when he would sign players. So it's not just the deferrals, it's also the contract that Frenkie de Jong had that made him the highest paid player, not just in Barcelona, but in the entire Spanish league. Now, in regards to that, Frenkie de Jong said the following: I'm not going to say what I'm going to earn. It has always been exaggerated a lot, and that has affected how people have seen me. If people read that in the newspapers, that if Frenkie is the highest paid, it has been your fault. I'm happy to have renewed for Barca. So Frenkie de Jong kind of here taking out his frustration a little bit on the press, saying, it's all a lie. It's you guys' fault. People view me this way because of you. It's not because of that. You were the highest paid player in La Liga. That's a fact, whether you like it or not. And the reason why people are upset about that, it's not because of the press. The press is just reporting a fact. It's because of how you performed, right? Because until last season, Frenkie de Jong was a hit-and-miss player. Sometimes he would give you great performances. Sometimes he would be a complete ghost. He was highly, highly inconsistent. And that's what made people mad. Do you hear people complain about the fact that Messi was earning near 100 million euros per season? No. Why? Because he's the greatest player in our history. If we find out tomorrow that Lamine Yamal is earning, 50 million euros, would you be upset? No, because he is the best player in the world, right? He earns what he gets paid. So that's the problem. And, Frenkie de Jong, he's kind of trying to wash his hands and just blame the media. No. First of all, it's true that you were the highest paid player. And second of all, it's not that the press made the people mad. It's because of your performance. If you were performing like Pedri is, nobody would have cared how much money you would be making. But since you weren't, people do care. Because when you're paying a premium, you expect something in return, right? When you go to a Michelin star restaurant, the food is very expensive. But you're fine with that because it's high quality. It tastes amazing. It's a great experience. But then if you go to a regular restaurant and you're paying the same prices as a Michelin star restaurant and the food sucks, you're going to be mad. Even though you're paying the same, right? It's not about the price. You're paying the same exact thing. But in one scenario, you got your money's worth. In the other one, you're like, what the hell am I paying for, right? So it's not about the press making people mad. It's your performance. Because people felt that, they were not getting their money's worth, which is what the club was paying you. Now, finally, Frenkie de Jong spoke about his experience at Barcelona so far, and this is what the Dutch midfielder had to say. It's difficult. I debuted with Valverde. Then, as I said, I have a very good relationship with Koeman. Everyone has helped me. The smartest thing would be to tell Hansi that I have him now. Everyone has helped me. So Frenkie, of course, saying that all the coaches, Valverde, Setien, Koeman, Xabi, and now Flake, have helped him to become the player that he is. And then, once again, he reiterated towards the end that he wanted, of course, to win many more trophies, including Champions League trophies, because he has not won a Champions League yet. And, of course, I wish that for him, too, because if he wins the Champions League with Barca, that means that Barca won the Champions League. Now, someone asked me the other day during the podcast, what did I think about this renewal? They asked me during the chat section. I know a lot of people skip the chat section. They just go to the chapters and they watch the bits of news. So I'm gonna repeat myself. So if you already heard this, I apologize, but this is more for the people who don't watch the chat section in between and they just go straight to the news. I think it's a little bit of a mistake. And I'm not talking from the sporting project side. I'm talking about from the financial side, right? Because I said that the other day and some people got mad, like, what are you talking about? Frenkie is great. Again, this is not an assault at Frenkie's abilities or Frenkie's skills, even though I believe he's been highly inconsistent. But even putting that aside, even believing that Frenkie has been great, I still think it's a mistake because he's still one of the highest earners. And Frenkie is, 28, 29 years old. He is nearing the end of his prime, and we're pretty much tying him up until he's 32, and he's earning like he's not 32, or that he's going to be 32, I'm sorry, because his salary will continue to rise, by the way. So by the time he's 32, he's actually got to be making more than what he's making now, and this is why I think it's a mistake, because this is the same argument I used to use for Luis Diaz. I used to say we shouldn't sign Luis Diaz, not because Luis Diaz sucks. He's a great player. He showed it at Liverpool. He's showing it now at Bayern. But it's about you have to take into consideration amortization. And when you're paying this much money for a 29-year-old that's nearing the end of his prime, you're never going to be able to amortize that. And again, it's not about his capabilities. It's a matter of money/age. Again, Luis Diaz, great player, but I would have never paid 70, 80 million for him. Not because he's not good, he's great, but he's 29 years old. After 29, it's like this. Players, it's a decline for them. It's a physical decline. It's a performance decline. Market value declines. So to invest that much in a depreciating asset, I don't think it's financially smart or financially prudent, more so for a club that's already in financial trouble. Barcelona were financially healthy, no debt, we're doing great. Sure, whatever. You want to spend on a depreciating asset, go for it. But if you're a club that's struggling financially, that's not the smartest thing to do. And again, this is purely from the economic standpoint. Again, I think he's been highly inconsistent, but even agree with people who disagreed with me about not renewing Frenkie. And let's say, yes, he is amazing, best midfielder in the world. Again, purely economic, I don't think it's the most prudent thing to spend this much on a player who's only going to decline from now. And if he's already been inconsistent during his prime years, what is that going to look like once he's out of his prime, which is right around the corner? Does that mean it's only going to get worse? And if it is going to get worse, do we really want to be paying that much money for someone not only is aging, but is also getting worse? I don't know. I think the best thing, the most ideal situation would have been to offload Frenkie this past summer. He didn't want to go. Fine. Let him go for free. This is why I say when they talk about Deco having this rule, if you're in the final year of your contract, you either renew or we sell you. And it's like, no, there's a third option. Just let him leave. Right? I always use the Oriol Romeo example. Oriol Romeo was during his final year of contract. Okay? You either renew or you leave. Okay? Hey, I don't want to leave. So the only option is what? To renew? Should have we renewed Romeo? Of course not. So if Romeo would have said, I don't want to leave, then you'd be like, okay, you're going to stay on the bench, and then you leave for free next summer. Now, I'm not saying put Frenkie on the bench, but I think the more prudent thing would have been to let him go. Because we have plenty of options in that position, right? Like, what's going to happen with Bernal now? Is he going to be able to play, or is his minutes going to be interrupted because now we have a player who we're spending a lot of money on? We can't have someone like Frenkie on the bench. Financially speaking, you can't. You have to play him because you're spending a lot of money on him, and you have to be able to get your money's worth. So that means you're going to be forced to play Frenkie, and you're not going to bench Pedri because he's the best midfielder in the world. So what's going to happen with Bernal's minutes? Now, is his growth going to have to be curtailed because we had to renew Frenkie? What about Casado? Is his minutes going to be curtailed because we had to renew Frenkie? It's kind of like the same thing with Olmo, which people are finally seeing it, that it was a waste of money. We had so many people in that position that could have been getting more minutes, that could have been growing, developing, and not needing to spend 60 million on a player, on a position that was already, covered. Not to mention his injuries and all of that. But anyways, that's my 2 cents in regards to the contract renewal of Frenkie. From the economic sense, I don't think it's the smartest thing. Anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Jorge Mendes, the super agent, because Jorge Mendes was in Barcelona. And when Jorge Mendes is in Barcelona, well, it's not to tan under the sun and to eat paella and drink sangria. It's because he's there for business. La Musajr says, hey Mo, Yıldız is so good, but please have time to discuss about Antonio Nusa one day. I've talked about Antonio Nusa plenty. I actually even did a reaction video. Now, I don't know how much more is there to talk about, but let's see. Not the Gamer says, yo Mo, how you been? It's been a while. I recommend watching clips of Gilberto Mora. As someone who watches him a lot, I would recommend. He can play anywhere in the midfield and remind me a lot of Pedri. So Gilberto Mora is definitely on Barcelona's radar. Barcelona have been tracking him for quite some time. They're interested in signing him. What's the problem? Well, initially, Club Tijuana had said that they would be willing to sell him for 20 mil, which makes him affordable. But then his agent, Rafael Pimienta, came out and said, absolutely not. For 20 mil, you can maybe buy one of his legs. And then she started using all these examples from Brazil. Like, Vinny was signed for what is it, 45 mil or however, and with bonuses it was up to 60 mil, and like Rodrigo the same, and then like Endrick was signed for this, and that guy was signed for that. So in other words, Rafaela Pimienta is not gonna, she's gonna convince Club Tijuana to raise their price. Because of course, the higher the price, the higher her commission, right? So she's gonna be looking for that. So I'm telling you, if the price goes up, that's a no for Barca. Plus also Gilberto Mora 16, so you have to wait until he's 18. But I think he's turning 17 pretty soon. So next year he'd be 18, but it would be, I think, in October, if I'm not mistaken. So that means we can't sign him until the winter transfer market of 2027. Anyways, Ibrahim says, it has been a while. I had to stay up until 11:40 to watch you, man. Even though I usually watch you at my office every morning before starting duties, I wish you visit Sierra Leone someday, Vizca Barca. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate the sacrifice that you're staying up late, especially since you have work tomorrow. Thank you so much. And yes, I would love to visit Sierra Leone. I've actually never been to the African continent. So there's so many places I want to visit. I want to go, of course, to Egypt, visit the pyramids. I want to go to Nigeria. I want to go to Ghana. I want to go to Kenya. I want to go to South Africa. And of course, Sierra Leone would be lovely to visit. So many places, man. I need to make my way. I can't even speak. Make my way there. So hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. There's just so much parts of the world that I want to see. Dorian says, did YouTube crash or something? It's not letting me watch the live. Oh, no. Is everyone else having that problem? Let me know. I hope not, because that would really suck. I mean, it's definitely not on my end. My end, everything is running smoothly. I got a signal here. I got the button here that shows me that I'm live. I got the people viewing. The comments are coming through. Hopefully not. But let me know if there's other people who are having that problem too. And Soko Jaden says, hi, Mo. How are you doing? Watching from Zambia. What's up, man? Thank you for watching, and thank you for your comment. And Spooky says, Mo, the stream doesn't work. What is going on? But other people seem to be able to watch it. That's interesting. I wonder if it's like maybe some parts of the world. I have no idea. And Barca Mama says, took me a couple of tries to get in. That's interesting. What is going on? Hey, YouTube, this is Laporta. I know it because I did that report about him and the lineman contract. He's trying to silence me. I'm kidding, of course. Don't take me seriously. Don't be like, Mo, you hate Laporta. You're blaming him for this. That's not the case, okay? I'm just kidding. I don't know. It shows live. I hope it's fixed now. I hope it's fixed. But anyways, the only thing you missed is that Frenkie has officially renewed with the club, if you're joining now. And now it's time to move on to the next bit of news. Hopefully everybody's in and can watch. But the next bit of news is concerning the super Asian, the biggest Asian in the footballing world, Jorge Mendes, the one and only Jorge Mendes, because today he was spotted in the city of Barcelona. He did an express trip, flew to Barcelona, spent there approximately, I think, 4 or 5 hours, and then flew out. And when Jorge Mendes is somewhere, like in Barcelona, well, it's not to vacation. He was not there to go sunbathe on the beach. He was not there to visit La Sagrada Familia. He was definitely not there to eat crema catalana, which if you don't know what it is, it's like creme brulee, but less sweet, which I like it better. But anyways, Jorge Mendes was in Barcelona, which means something happened. Because when Jorge Mendes visits Barcelona, there's always news. Now, one of his 2 stops for Jorge Mendes was to meet with, of course, Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is Jorge Mendes' client, by his highest profile client that he has. Of course, he does have Penaldo, but, you know, that guy's washed up. He's in the desert chasing camels. But Jorge Mendes did meet with Lamine Yamal, especially because, of course, we know Lamine Yamal has been dealing with injuries. So Jorge Mendes wanted to check on him, see how he was doing, and seeing, you know, how he's coming back from his injury. But then after meeting with Lamine Yamal, Jorge Mendes went to the Barcelona offices and met with Deco. Now, so far, we don't know what they met for. I'm sure we'll find out Right now, they're keeping a tight lid on what was discussed between Deco and Jorge Mendes. But we can speculate on two subjects. Because remember, when Jorge Mendes meets with Deco, it's not to check in. Hey, how you doing, bro? Let's go grab a cup of coffee. If they meet, it's because they're discussing business. We're talking about Jorge Mendes, the biggest football agent in the world, extremely busy man. This guy does not waste time. So if they met, they discuss business, 100%. Now, what could have they possibly discussed? Well, there are two possibilities here. Number one, Guille Fernandez, right? 17 years old, center midfielder, promising guy, the cousin of Tony Fernandez, currently is injured. But as I told you in yesterday's video, Dortmund are very interested in Guille Fernandez. In fact, they were interested in him in the summer. Guille Fernandez received a lot of offers from many European clubs. During the summer, he considered them, but then eventually decided to reject all of them and instead stay in Barcelona to try to fight for his spot in the first team. So far, it hasn't really paid dividends, right? He did get called up to the preseason. He did travel with the team to Asia. He even was part of the squad for the opening match for Barcelona, but then after that, he got sent down to Barca Athletic. He played with Barca Athletic, I think, 2 matches, and then he injured his ankle. So far, he hasn't been able to break into the first team. And given that that was the reason he stayed, he could be considering leaving again. We don't know. But we do know that Dortmund are still very interested in him, and they're trying to convince him to make the move to the Bundesliga. And who represents Guille Fernandez? Well, Jorge Mendes. So this could have been one of the topics, given that Dortmund are very heavily interested in the player. And the other topic that they could have discussed is Gonzalo Inacio. Now, as we know, Gonzalo Inacio is a player that Barcelona are very interested in. Deco has met with the player's entourage many, many times in order to discuss, the possibility of signing him. As I've told you before, Gonzalo Inacio is 24 years old. He is a center back, left-footed center back, something that Barcelona are looking for. And his contract expires in the summer of 2027, which means if he doesn't renew by next summer, he will be entering the final year of his contract. And if so, that would make him pretty affordable. Now, the two biggest targets for Barcelona in the center back position is Schlotterbeck and Gonzalo Inacio. So Gonzalo Inacio could have easily come up during the meeting between Deco and Jorge Mendes. Of course, we don't know for sure, but I'm sure we'll find out more. And if we do, well, I'll be here to tell you all about it. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button so you can stay up to date. Because again, when Jorge Mendes meets with Barca, it's to do business. It's not to be like, hey, bros, how you doing? Anyways, let's get back to the comment section. And then we are going to talk about the Juventus sensation that Barcelona are interested in seeing. Man, what is going on? Calhel says, I have been experiencing issue lags with YouTube for me the past 3 days, and today evening it's gotten worse. Damn, that is not good. That is not good. That really makes me, really bums me out, because I love podcast day. I love watching, interacting with you guys, and the fact that YouTube is messing up. But I guess the silver lining, I guess, is not coming from me. So if it is coming from YouTube, that means hopefully when the problem is fixed, the live will still be up for you to watch it once it ends. You can watch it, the recorded version of it. Hopefully. What the hell, YouTube? Why are you crashing my flow, man? Anyways, let me see. Yeah, everybody's saying the same. Mo, the stream doesn't work. Let's see. Valeriano says it's hard to get in your live today. Keep saying retry. Wow, that sucks. And Soko says, how was your vacation, Mo? My vacation, it was very short. It was, I went to watch Argentina play against Venezuela. I got invited by my boss. He lives in Florida. So he invited me down there. I went, flew out Friday early in the morning, worked, because I never stop working, even when I'm on vacation. And then at night, saw the game. On Saturday, I kind of like hung out with him. We went to dinner, smoked some hookah. And then Sunday, I went to the beach briefly, and then I went straight to, well, not straight to the airport. I went showered and then went to the airport. So it was pretty short, but, you know, it's always nice to get away, even if it's for a couple of days, 2-3 days. But let's see. Edward says, come on, Mo, FDJ is not going to be there that long. Mats will leave because he will not pay or play. Barca did the right thing by letting Mats leave on his own. Barca owes him and Frenkie that much. Wait, I think I understood your comment. Let me read it again. Maybe it's just been a long day. FDJ is not going to be there that long. Mats will leave because he will not play. Barca did the right thing by letting Mats leave on his own. Barca owes him and Frenkie that much. I do agree. I do think they're saying will leave on his own eventually. Especially once he sees that he can't compete with Juan Garcia, because I don't think he will be able to. Not because he's not talented enough. You know, Juan Garcia is much younger. You know, Marta Singh is coming back from several injuries, older. Plus, you know, hunger really does play a part, believe it or not. You know, Juan Garcia right now is young, is hungry. He wants to prove himself. He wants to win things. Ter Stegen, you know, I'm not saying he's not, but he's not going to be as hungry as Juan Garcia at that age, right? Juan Garcia hasn't won anything, so he's got to be much, much hungrier than Ter Stegen. So I don't think Ter Stegen is going to be able to compete with him. So I think eventually he will agree to leave when he realizes, okay, yeah, I don't have a place here. But as far as Frenkie, I don't know if I understand your comment. Like, are you saying that Barcelona did the right thing to renew him because they owe him that much? Because if so, I don't know if I agree with that. Because we paid Frenkie a lot of money, man. A lot of money. And like I said, besides last season, most of it has been wasted. So I feel like we've already done plenty for him, which made him incredibly rich beyond his imagination. So I don't know if there's much we owe him. But I think that's what you're talking about, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting your comment. Madam says, hello, Mo. How are you doing? It's Suleiman watching you from Gambia. I'm so glad about your hard work for us by putting us through about Barca news, Bisca Barca. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching this work. Of course, I do so you guys can enjoy it. So thank you. Thank you for your comment and for watching. Suleiman says, hey, Mo, how is your day going? I hope one day we will get to enjoy the success we once enjoyed many years ago with our dear club, Bisca Barca. Amen, my friend. I mean, we are enjoying the success. Let's not forget. Sure, yeah, the PSG loss sucked. The Sevilla loss sucked. But let's not forget, we just ended a successful season. We won La Liga. We won the Copa. We won the Super Copa. So it's not like, you know, we just came off a trophyless season. Now, of course, we do want more. We want the success to continue. Every season, we should be competing for all trophies. You know, we're not Athletic Club de Bilbao that wins one trophy every 40 years, and then we're like, yay, let's go. No, we want to win every season, but we did just come off a season winning. So that's, of course, we have to be happy for. Christopher says, oh, he didn't say anything. He became a member. Christopher, my friend, thank you so much for becoming a member. You will now have access to the Discord server. The link is in the community tab. It's in a comment that's only visible to members. So if you go to the community tab, now that you're a member, you're going to see that comment. I think it's the last one, like the newest one, the latest one. You're going to see the post there. You click on a link. You'll get access to the Discord server. Make sure you're logged into Discord with the same email that you used to log into YouTube. So Discord can recognize you as a member. If you use a different email, it's going to think you're not a member, that you're just trying to sneak in, and he's not going to let you in. And also on Saturdays, of course, the Mocast, because it's a live for members only. Anyways, let's do the next bit of news, because Italian sources, more specifically, Gazzetta dello Sport. I don't have a long mustache, but picture I have a long mustache and I'm doing this. But Gazzetta dello Sport are insisting, confirming, ensuring, whatever adjective you want to use, that Barcelona are eyeing the Juventus sensation, Kenan Yıldız. I hope I said that correctly. It's a Turkish name. I'm not sure. I don't speak Turkish. But Kenan Yıldız, if you don't know who he is, 20 years old, plays as a left winger, can technically also play on the right wing and through the middle, but his specialty is the left wing. But Kenan Yıldız is someone who impressed during the summer, during the Club World Cup with Juventus. And then he's continued that impressive performance throughout the season. So far, he has scored 2 goals, provided 4 assists in 8 matches. Not bad. Not bad. And of course, his good performances have caught the attention of some of Europe's biggest clubs, including FC Barcelona, who are currently tracking his situation at the Bianconeri. Now, Kenan Yıldız does have a contract until 2029. So he still has 3.5 years on his contract. But Juventus right now are in the process of trying to extend it. Why? Because Kenan Yıldız, despite being a rising star in the Juventus institution, he has an incredibly low salary. He earns, saying 1.7, 2 million euros. Let's just round it up and say 2 million. That makes him the 18th highest paid player in Juventus. So despite being a rising star, he's not earning like one. So Juventus, of course, want to renegotiate his contract, extend it, give him a higher salary. And I imagine if they do insert a release clause, that the release clause will be incredibly much higher. Now remember, only in Spain a release clause is mandatory, right? Other leagues, some contracts have it, some don't. In Spain, every contract needs a release clause. That's why we always talk about release clauses when we talk about players in La Liga. Now, Barcelona are currently tracking the situation to see what happens. If Juventus are able to renew Yıldız, have a nice life. Thank you very much. We're out. But if Juventus are unable to renew him, then Barcelona could make a bid for him come this summer. Now, what's the problem? Well, the same problem as always. There are other big clubs interested in him who are willing to pay big bucks. And of course, Barcelona right now cannot compete with big clubs spending big bucks. Now, what are the 2 main clubs interested in him? Are Arsenal, and of course, you can guess the next one. We'll say it together. 3, 2, 1. Chelsea, you guessed it right. Chelsea are interested in Kenan Yıldız because, of course, as long as you have a heartbeat, well, Chelsea is interested in you. Now, it's reported that Chelsea are willing to pay upwards of 70 million euros, 7-0, for Kenan Yıldız. And if that's the case, Barcelona can't compete with that. So 2 things need to happen, right? First, Kenan does not renew with Juventus. And second, he chooses Barca over the 70 million of Chelsea offering because Barcelona are not going to compete with that. We cannot afford to compete with that. So we'll see what happens. But Kenan Yıldız, someone who is currently on Barcelona's radar. All right, let's get back to the chat section. And then we'll talk about Coutinho. So yeah, a lot of people say that there's buffering, that there's lag, they can't log in. Some people saying that it's been a problem for a few days. Sanjok says YouTube is down. My God, man. YouTube, get your act together. Are we getting hacked? Are the Chinese hacking us? China, stop hacking us, please. Because I'm trying to do a live here, okay? Anyways. Let's see. Edward says, I only got in after 3 tries. Wow. That sucks, man. That sucks. Let me see. Diptang Surai says, this is because there are YouTube server outages, but they are working on it. Okay. So I see. That kind of course, sucks that there are outages. But at the same time, the silver lining is that I hope that my live will be available to be watched afterwards. So that's good. If it was my software, of course, then I would have to re-record all of this. So I guess that's the silver lining. Of course, ideally, I would prefer that everything would be working fine and you guys can watch and you don't have to be logging in a million times. So Google, get your act together, man. What the hell? I'm trying to watch them. They're going to ban me now. They're like, this guy's talking too much shit. Delete. Just kidding. Don't do that, please. Sergey and what's the other guy who founded Google, Sergey and the other guy. Sergey and the other guy, please forgive me. You guys are the best. Don't shut me down. Soko says, Mo, did you hear about the Messi Cup and what is your thoughts? I did hear about it, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't read too much into it. So since I don't know much about it, I don't want to give an opinion because I believe opinions based on limited facts are not good opinions. So I'll read more about it and then maybe I'll talk about it in a separate video. But right now, I don't have too much info to go off. So I don't want to just pull something out of my butt just to be like, here, a half-baked idea. Why not? Edward says, a lot of money is subjective. Bartomeu was giving out big money contracts like water for people who were there and gone tomorrow. Do you know how much Alexis Sanchez at Man U was making? Clear bust. It's not completely subjective because there is a market rate, right? You know how much certain players go for, and then you can compare, right? You have the Haalands of the world, and then you have like not so that great, and middle, and bottom tier. So there is data to compare. So it's not super subjective. You can tell, okay, this player is in the elite categories. So okay, how much are the elite players going for? This much, okay. This player is maybe not in the highest God tier category, maybe he's in the excellent category. Okay, how much are excellent players going for, right? So it's not completely subjective. There is a market rate, right, that you can compare things to. And Kyle Hell says, kind of related to the news today, but since we spoke about Guille, I hope that Tony gets his chance now that all the injuries piling up. He could even play as a 10, even that almost is almost useless. Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for... I'm sure Fermin is going to start, of course. But, yeah, this could be maybe Tony. Most likely it's going to be Dro over Tony. But maybe we'll see. I think Dro is going to get some minutes. We'll see now that also we have Lewy's injured. But I think it's Rashford's going to be in the place of Lewy. And with Ferran, his sub. I don't know. We could see some. Maybe Rooney Bardarje gets more minutes. Actually, I'm pretty sure he will. Because even though Lamine is healthy, he's not going to be able to play full 90 minutes against Girona or against Olympiacos. So there's going to be an opportunity for many of the academy players. And Bad Boy says Chelsea. Yes, sir. Chelsea. Let's see. Edward says Alexis Sanchez was on $450K a week. After a year, he had muscle fatigue. So bad his brain cannot communicate with his legs. Yeah. That's kind of like what's going on with Lewy, right? They say the club are really upset with him a little bit for agreeing to play in the full 90 minutes with Poland, and now he's injured. And they're kind of right, because if you're Lamine, you're 18 years old, okay, it's understandable. First of all, you still don't know your body that well. Second of all, you're 18. All you're thinking about is I want to play. But when you're 37, like Lewandowski, you should, A, know your body, and 2, you're a grown man, right? You have to be able to tell your coach, look, man, I'm fatigued, I'm tired. Can you pull me out at the halftime or at the 60th minute, right? So, and it's kind of like with Olmo a little bit too. Like part of it, yes, is De La Fuente because Barcelona sent a detailed report detailing fatigue and muscle discomfort. So he should have released him immediately, but Olmo should have also not agreed to train and said, look, man, I'm not feeling good. And he didn't, by the way. He missed 4 trainings. It's the 5th one that he showed up to that he got injured. But he shouldn't have showed up to that 5th one. He should have said, look, man, I got discomfort. I'm fatigued. You have a medical report. I'm not making this up. You have actual doctors saying the same thing. How about I don't train because I don't feel well? But, unfortunately, sometimes the pressure on these players, especially the World Cup pressure, I'm sure almost thinking, no, I want to play the World Cup. And I'm afraid that if I say no to the coach, he's not going to call me up. But your health is more important. Do you want to be the next Umtiti who plays the World Cup, but then that's it, his career is over? I don't know, man. These players are sometimes a little bit to blame too. But Twizzle says, why am I the only one who has hit the like button, guys? Let's show some love on the like button too. Yes, please, please, please. Hit the like button. By the way, it seems like maybe the issue with YouTube has been fixed, maybe, because I do see an increase in viewership I saw the viewership ticker really struggling at the beginning, and that's when everybody was saying that YouTube was struggling. So maybe it's better now. I hope so. I hope so. But anyways, let's get back. Let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Coutinho, because Coutinho had an interesting interview where he discussed how he seriously considered leaving for two reasons. Let's look at what those reasons are. Now, these were the first statements that Coutinho had to say. Many people wanted me to leave from my first steps at the Camp Nou. I can't name them all. Maybe I wasn't doing what they expected of me, but I always had a clear conscience about what I gave. I did everything I could. Because I wasn't the player they expected, they thought I had no future at the club from my first season. It wasn't just a feeling, it was something tangible and clear. Maybe they expected 30 goals a season, but that's not my profile. I'm not a center forward. I am a player who helps a lot with effort, with a lot of dedication and work. That's Raphinha. I will always give my best. I don't know if I agree with what he said. Yes, there were a lot of people that wanted him out, but I don't think it's what he says, wanting me to leave from my first steps at the Camp Nou. At least how I recall it, and I don't know, you guys can correct me, maybe my memory is failing me, but I feel like everybody was very excited when Barcelona signed Raphinha. I mean, I was like, yeah, we got a Brazilian, we were promised that he was going to be the next Ronaldinho. We're like, yeah, we're going to get some jogo bonito. And even when his first season began, some people were starting to feel a little bit disappointed. I said, hold on, let's give him some time. Let's see some adapt. He's going to need to adapt. It's new coach, new teammates, new league, new country, new culture, new language, you name it. But then after the months passed, I was like, all right, yeah, this guy sucks. But I don't know but he says from his first day, I don't know if that's true. At least how I remember. I feel like everybody was very excited. And then it was with time that people were like, okay, yeah, this guy. And even then, 2 seasons of him being mediocre, people were still defending him. So even then, there was a lot of people who were like, no, he's great. He scored 10 goals. I remember that. People would be like, he scored 10 goals. And I was like, oh my God, that's what Braithwaite scored. So that's it. That means he's great. So I don't know if I agree with that. But he had more to say. I was greatly affected when I received the Saudi offer because this offer would have solved many aspects of my personal life and secured the future of my parents, my son, and many people close to me. So it was natural that we considered leaving, and I genuinely felt that it might be the right time to move on. But with the arrival of the new coach, talking about Flick, of course, we first spoke over the phone, then face-to-face, and he managed to convince me to stay. And fortunately, he succeeded in doing so. And yes, my friend, we are fortunate that he succeeded in convincing you not to leave. So Raphinha talking about how he seriously considered leaving, first because, he felt like people wanted him out. And that is true. People did want him out. I was one of them. I was very open about it because for the first 2 seasons, Raphinha was mediocre. He was not Barca level. Thankfully, last season, he stopped being Raphinha and he became Coutinho. And he gave us his best season yet. Now, I really hope he's able to replicate that performance. It looks like he could. So far, he's had good matches. It's unfortunate that he's injured. But I don't think it's like what he says that it was from the first day. And then, of course, talking about how he received the Saudi offer and he seriously considered it because it's a lot of money, right? And he's like, with that kind of money, he could have solved his future, the future of his kids, his parents. And he seriously considered it until, of course, Flick came in and said, sir, you are not going anywhere. I'm going to turn you into the best version of you. And that's exactly what Hansi Flick did because that Raphinha from last season, that's why I nicknamed him Coutinho because last season he was absolutely phenomenal. And by the way, people till this day, they're like, oh, Raphinha proved you wrong. He didn't, though. He proved me right because for the first 2 seasons, I said he was mediocre and that he wasn't performing. And last season, he showed us that that's true because last season's performance was 10 times better than the first 2 seasons combined. So it was true. He was being mediocre. And last season, he wasn't, right? He would have proved me wrong if last season I would have been saying he's mediocre and he ended up being great. or that at first 2 seasons I was saying that he was great when he was being mediocre. But that wasn't the case. First 2 seasons he was mediocre. I said he was mediocre. Last season he was great. I said he was great. That's how things work. You don't just say, I like this player, so I'm going to say he's great no matter what. If he does great, great. And if he does bad, I'm still going to say he's great. Or the opposite. You don't say, I hate this player, so I'm always going to say he sucks. If he does great, he sucks. If he sucks, then he sucks. No. You react based on what you see. If you're seeing great performance, you say he's great. If you're seeing bad performance, you say he's bad. First 2 seasons, Raphinha, not Barca level. Last season, one of the best players in the world. And that's why, for the first time ever, he was considered in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or. First time ever in his career, of course. That's what I'm talking about. But anyways, let me know what you think about Coutinho, not Raphinha. I never want to see Raphinha again. I want to see Coutinho only. But let me know what you think about Coutinho's comments about considering leaving when he saw that, dala bilya, because Saudi money, it makes you reconsider. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? Let's get back to the comment section, but where did we leave off? Here we go. Valeriano says, Mo, can Barca beat Real Madrid with all these injuries? I think we can. I really hope Raphinha is recovered and can play, because if he can, we can have Raphinha on the left, Lamine on the right, Rashford as a center forward, and Fermin Lopez right behind him. And, on midfield is fine. Pedri, Frenkie, both healthy. In our back line, we have Balde on the left, Kunde on the right. And, our center backs could be Cuarcia and Eric or Christensen or whomever. They're all healthy. The only thing, of course, the goalkeeper does worry me. Tech does worry me. He doesn't give me the confidence that Juan Garcia gives me. But, yeah, I think we can. I don't see why not, right? I think we have a team that, as long as they come out with intensity and play as a unit, they can beat Madrid. Because Madrid, I still see the same Madrid from last season, a fractured Madrid that don't play as a unit, that they don't have a clear identity or a system. A Madrid that's heavily reliant on Mbappe, which, by the way, Mbappe doing amazing things. I'm not here to knock Mbappe down. But they're saying Mbappe is a doubt for the Clásico, and without Mbappe, I don't know what Madrid has. So, and that's the thing, when you heavily rely on one guy, if something happens to that one guy, you're screwed. But when you play as a team, which Barcelona have shown time and time again that they're capable of, then it doesn't matter as much, right? You can still win because you play as a team, and that's what made us win all those trophies last season, was the fact that Flick was able to create a system where the whole team plays together and they row together, right? That's why so many players, we saw their best version. Ferran Torres, he went from this guy who every time we saw him come off the bench, we'd be like, oh my God, here we go, it's over, to a super sub. It's not because Ferran overnight all of a sudden touched the magical football and became better, like that movie with what's that movie with the Looney Tunes? Space Jam, he touches the basketball and becomes super good, or so it's not that. It's just because the team started playing as a one unit, so it automatically makes everybody better. So yeah, absolutely, I think so. Obey says, good morning, Mo. Cameroon time. What's the news? I'm hearing about Raphinha leaving. No, he's not leaving. He's not leaving. Calm down, guys. Raphinha is not leaving. Please. Let's not panic. He had an interview where he talked about how he considered leaving in the summer because A, he felt like he wasn't wanted, and B, because he got that offer from Saudi and he was like, oh my God, this is so much money. He considered it, but Flick convinced him to stay. Not leaving. I want to be clear about that. Yomi Odara says, hey, Mo, thanks for these videos. We have 2.5 attackers for the weekend. Who will be your 3? Oof. So, we know Lamine is not going to start. So, we're going to have Rooney start on the right. And then at the 60th minute, we can bring in Lamine. On the left, we can have Rashford start. Actually, I take that back. We need Rashford as a center forward. Which means, on the left, I want to see Rashford as a center forward, but Ferran as a winger is non-existent. So I think we're going to have Rashford on the left and Ferran start as a center forward. But what's the problem, though? Ferran, he left the Spanish training camp with some soreness. It's not an injury, with some soreness. And this is why I'm like, Lewy, what the hell were you doing playing 90 minutes with Poland? You should have told your coach to take you out at the 60th minute, because then if he was healthy, he could have started and rested Ferran and had Rashford on the left. But now we have to risk Ferran because, well, Lewandowski is injured. So that, of course, limits options. Let's hope Wojciech is ready, because his last performance did not give me confidence at all. Anyways, Edward says, the last blackout, New York City took that as a chance for the whole city to party their asses off, YouTube down because of grid damage, because of national storms. Okay, well, thank you for that. I actually had no idea. And yes, we did have some crazy storms. By the way, when I landed in Florida on Friday, it was raining cats and dogs. Saturday, it rained half the day. And then Sunday, it was sunny in Florida, but I returned to New York and it was raining like cats and dogs. So it's like, here it wasn't raining. I go to Florida, it's raining. It's finally sunny in Florida. I come back here, now here it's raining. It's like, thanks. Rain is just chasing me down. Let's see. Valeriano says, maybe Rooney should be tried at almost position. No, because Rooney is a winger. He's a pure winger. He's a natural winger. And we've seen he has the qualities, right? So no, I don't think that's a good position for him. Soko says, I think Dro is capable of taking the number 10 spot. I think so. He just needs more time to adapt, right? We saw his last match. What was the match where he started? Was it against Getafe, Real Sociedad? He might be Real Sociedad. I can't remember, but he definitely looked like he was a little bit out of his element, and that's normal, right? He's a kid. He's never started in first division, and first division is much fast, more intense, more physical. So it's just a matter of getting used to it. But I do think he has what it takes, but it's gonna take some time, right? It's gonna take some time. Okay, and everybody confirming. Sid saying YouTube crashed. George also saying YouTube was down. Bad Boy says, yes, YouTube is currently experiencing issues from some of users of Wednesday, October 15th, around 7:16 p.m. CDT, according to user reports on platforms like Down Detector and Reddit. Wow. Well, thanks a lot, YouTube. You couldn't wait to go down on a day that we don't have a podcast. Let me see. And Sid says, Coutinho can't leave no matter what. I don't care. I mean, he will eventually. Can't have a play forever. You don't want a 40-year-old Coutinho, no matter how good he is. Valeriano says, Inigo as well gave an interview about leaving Barca. I think we covered the Inigo interview, or did I not? I can't remember. Valeriano says, Raphinha gives too much interview about his leaving. That's true, actually, because I think this is the third or fourth interview that I cover where he discussed about how, everybody hated me, nobody believed in me, and look, I proved them wrong. It's like, no, bro, you did it. The first 2 seasons, they were right to hate you. You sucked. You were mediocre. Last season, Coutinho, right? Now, you get to glow if during your third season people were saying you suck and you proved them wrong. But during the first season, you proved them right. You did suck. But yeah, you are right. This is the third or fourth interview that I cover where he's like, I was going to leave. Nobody loved me. Soko says Barca can beat Real Madrid and will beat Real Madrid. I like that. That's the attitude, my friend. That's the attitude. I love it. Kenneth says, hi, Mo. Hopefully give Dro some minutes. I hope so, too. I think he will, because Fermin is healthy, but I don't know if you want to play him the full 90 minutes the first match back. So maybe have Fermin play 60 and bring in Dro. So there is a possibility, of course. Sholia says, Mo, I'd really love to see Yıldız or Doué in the next 2 years after Raphinha in Barca shirt. I don't see Doué happening. I mean, Doué is right now... Doué to PSG right now is what Lamine is to Barca. In the same way, Barca has now no way in hell they're going to sell Lamine. There's no way in hell PSG is going to sell Doué. And Sean says, good night all. With all the injuries we are having this season, do you think Flick may have to rotate more? Example, resting Pedri in the next game. I mean, rotation are important in every season, regardless, right? Seasons are long. You have 4 competitions, right? La Liga, Copa, Supercopa, Champions League. You have FIFA international breaks. You have to rotate. This season is nothing special. All seasons you need to rotate. George says, Mo, how do FDJ's new contract affect financial fair play? So since you extend the years, you could able to divide what you owe the player by more years, so it helps. Is it gonna take us to the 1-to-1? No. The 1-to-1 is gonna take a lot of work to get to it. Why? Because the club continues to spend more than it brings in. They did it this year, even though they announced $2 million in profits. And then it's like, yeah, but that's not counting the taxes. Well, yeah, sure. I'm a millionaire if you count the fact that I don't have $1 million. like what? You have to count the taxes because you have to pay them. And once you count the taxes, you factor the taxes in, you actually didn't make $2 million in profits. You lost $17 million. So, and that's what Victor Fon was talking about yesterday, right? We're talking about Laporta and his board constantly fudging the numbers to make it seem like the club is doing better than they are. And Edward says, don't worry about Real Madrid. Next up, Girona, Catalan Derby, and Barca never play well in the daytime. Celta Vigo, our boogie team in the daytime, is hope for a draw. Yeah, that's true. We do have to focus on Girona first. Then after that, of course, we do have Olympiacos. So one match at a time. One match at a time. And Soliel says, Mo, what are your thoughts in the new... Oh, wait, you already asked me that. El Ral says, Mo, we need a versatile fullback like Van der Sar, technically pacey. Right back, Kunde is sluggish and makes mistakes when pressed. We need a striker and a center back as well, but Laporta isn't going to... Well, here's the thing. We can't afford to make all those signings, right? Sure, I would love to reinforce the center back and the fullback and the wings and the center forward and all of the above, but we have very limited resources, very limited financial fair play, so you have to focus on the top priorities. Doesn't mean that the fullback might not be, but there are other positions that are more high priority, like the center forward, right? Because Lewandowski is leaving, and we need a replacement for him. Or the center back, because Inigo already left, and we need a replacement for him. So those are more higher priorities. Now, if there's money left and financial fair play room left after you make those signings, then sure. But until you don't secure those signings, it's hard to talk about other signings. Faye says, hey, Mo, what position you play? Because we need you for that Casico, do your best, man. I played as a left back. Well, full back on the left. I was more of a Alejandro Balde profile. I'm not comparing myself to Alejandro Balde, okay? People are going to be like, Mo thinks he's the shit. No. I suck, okay? Let's make that clear. There's a reason why I'm a lawyer and not a professional football player. But I played as a fullback. I played the same profile as Balde, where I was an attacking fullback. And then I would track back and defend. But I was an attacking... So I guess maybe you can consider a wing back. I was a fullback. I ran a lot, man. My stamina was 1,000,000 times better back when I played than it is now. Because I used to cover the whole field, man. But I liked it. I liked to be able to defend and then turn around and attack. Good times. Let's see. La Musajr says, I will be super happy if Barca signed left winger Nusa, right back Wanderson, and center back Ignacio or Schlotterbeck. Yeah, man. I would be happy too. Don't get me wrong. But at this point, it's not happening. Let's put it that way. And Barian says, sad day for Mo, happy day for me. Long live FDJ times Pedri partnership. It's not a sad day. I mean, it's not like personal. Like, oh no, I hate Frenkie. Fuck that guy. I want to see him out. It's like, I just don't think it's financially smart. But it's done. He's going to be here. And if it is, I wish him the best. I hope that he unleashes his best version and he does it every single year that he's under the contract, right? Because like I've always said, at the end of the day, I want to see every single Barca player succeed, because if the players are succeeding, the team is succeeding. If the team is succeeding, at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's all of our goal, right? We all want to see Barcelona be successful, competing, winning trophies. So it's not like I'm going to be sad or mad. I'm not. Like that would be a very immature reaction or a very childish reaction, because like I said, at the end of the day, the goal is for Barcelona to win trophies. And that means that all the players succeeding, right? I think Ferran is not Barca level, but last season when he was killing it as a super sub, I was happy. It's not like I was like, oh man, damn, I hate Ferran and he's doing great, so I'm mad now. Like that would be a pretty stupid position to be in or opinion to have. But anyways. Yomidara says, Mo, I admire how you explained the Laporta situation yesterday. We fans have the likelihood to always put the person before the club, especially when they are in our good books. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate your comment. And I appreciate that you're able to see that, right? And that's something that and I know I probably sound as a broken record at this point, but it's something I keep trying to drive, right? And it's like the club should always, always come first, right? The presidents, the board, the coaches, the players. These are just people that come and go. And our loyalty cannot be to them. Our loyalty should always be to the club. Because when your loyalty rests with a person, that invites mediocrity. That invites complacency. Why? Because if your loyalty rests with a person and you support that person no matter what, that means you're going to support that person when he does bad. And we don't do that at Barca. Right? At Barca, we want the best, and we want the best to be performing at their best. Because if they're doing that, that means the club is performing at its best. And that's what we want, right? We want Barcelona in the highest echelons of the football world. And that's not going to happen on its own. That's going to happen because the people at the club are the best at what they do, and they're doing it as best as they can. But if you support a player no matter what and he's doing crappy, well, you're going to keep supporting him, right? Because your loyalty lies with him. But what happens is that person is not performing at their best, so now the club gets affected. So where does your loyalty lie? What's more important to you, that the club does best or that you're right about someone, right? It's kind of like with the Xabi thing, right? These Xabi fanboys, they're so in love with him, so obsessed with him, that it's like they don't care that the club was being dragged through the mud. Right? We got thrashed by Villarreal. We got thrashed by Athletic Club de Bilbao. We got thrashed by Real Madrid. We lost every match against them. We got thrashed by Girona twice. And we're getting thrashed left and right. We're getting humiliated. We're crashing out of competitions. We're not winning anything. The Bernabeu is chanting, Xabi stay, Xabi stay. And these people, their loyalty lies with Xabi, so they're like defending him no matter what. And it's like, bro, but don't you see what that's doing to the club? Like, are you truly a Barcelona fan if you're okay with your club reputation being damaged, of your club being dragged through the mud, of your club being humiliated time and time again, just because you want to be right about the person that you support? Does that make sense to you? Because that means you're not a Barcelona fan. It means you're a Xabi fan, right? And that's not where your loyalty should be. My loyalty is Barcelona. Right now, I'm happy with Flick because he's doing great. But if tomorrow Flick starts to suck, I'll be like, Flick out. Get the fuck out. Why? Because my loyalty is not with him. My loyalty is with the club. And as long as he's doing great by the club, you're welcome to stay. The moment you're not doing that, you're welcome to leave. And that goes for the players. That goes for the president. That goes for the board of directors. Shit, that goes for the towel boy. If you're taking too long to hand out towels, you need to get the fuck out. You get the point. Yomi Dada says, you dropped the soccer ball for the gloves. Liking your content, bro. Listening to you has been back into my daily ritual. I appreciate it, my friend. And yes, I did drop the ball for the gloves. Didn't happen on purpose. It just, I had stopped playing for a while. And then it also had to do with me moving to New York. Because obviously in Vegas, I had my friends. I had my local league that I played in and everything. And then when I moved here, it's like I didn't meet anyone that really played and didn't know any about leagues. So kind of like I just stopped playing. And then eventually I was like, all right, I want to try something new. And I got a taste of MMA and I got hooked and that's it. But I would love to start playing again. But I don't know. I just don't have the time. But yeah. Street Fighter says, hola Mo, ¿cuál es tu mejor once del Barcelona? Are we talking about best 11? So he's asking, what's my best 11? We're talking about best 11 historically speaking, or are we talking about the best 11 in this millennium, in the last decade? Let me know. But maybe I should do a video about that. Java the Hutt says, the club needs a president that doesn't have relations to Barca like Flick, so tough decisions can be made. And that's an interesting point of view, you know. Some people say that maybe Xabi failed because his love for the club. which I could see that point, right? If there's one thing that we can all agree on is that Xavi is more culé than the crest itself, right? There's no one more culé than him. I mean, came up through the academy, spent his whole career at the club, won everything there is to win with the club. One of the greatest midfielders of our history, not to mention of the history of football, period. So I don't think anyone can doubt his loyalty. But some people attribute his failure to his loyalty, that he just loved the club too much, so he wasn't maybe able to take, those necessary decisions. He couldn't separate himself, take a step back and figure out what the bigger picture is, maybe. I see the point. Because like I said, there's one thing we cannot disagree on, and that's that Xavi bleeds Blaugrana, right? If you slice his arm, it's gonna come out blue, and it's not really red, it's maroon, I guess. I don't know what the color is in English for. But anyways, El Ral says, Xavi stands and fanatics are just pathetic, mindless, drooling clowns. This club has an affinity for mediocrity, and also they have this ridiculous emotional attachment. Yeah, I think part of it is emotional, because obviously, again, Xavi's a legend, right? And I think some people don't know how to separate that attachment to the player versus the coach. I mean, we do it with Koeman very easily, right? Koeman, also a Barca legend. He won us our first Champions League. Back then it wasn't called the Champions League, it was the European Cup. But one hell of a player. Barca legend through and through as a player. As a coach, incredibly mediocre. And people don't have a problem separating that. They don't have a problem saying, okay, yeah, Koeman as a player, amazing. As a coach, he sucks. With Xavi, they seem to have a problem with where it's like they don't know how to separate it. Maybe because they grew up watching him, like I did. Like I didn't grow up watching Koeman. I was too young. So maybe that's why it's easier to separate the Koeman the player from Koeman the coach versus Xavi the player, Xavi the coach. But yeah, and there is part of it to the mediocrity too. Unfortunately, I don't want to call anyone any names, but mediocre people tend to think that way. They much rather put in effort and energy and thought into defending their mediocrity than to actually find a way out of it. I'll never understand that mindset. I mean, if you're already using all that energy just defending and wanting the status quo and wanting to stay in the same lane, why not channel that energy into improving? I mean, you're already using it. It's not like you're lazy. You're putting in a lot of effort trying to stay and defend the status quo. So how about you channel it towards challenging the status quo, towards improving, towards growing? Like, why are you willing to spend so much energy on staying mediocre when you can use that energy to excel? I'll never understand it, but I don't know. Maybe someone can enlighten me. And Edward says, Mo, seen any of the construction blogs? Camp Nou is going to be a fan-fucking-tastic. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be the best, or at least one of the best stadiums in the world. It's looking absolutely beautiful. And, I discussed this in previous videos, but we've even talked about the technology that's going to house. So it's not just like the aesthetic of it inside and out, but even like the technologies that it's going to have. I mean, I think it's going to be... I really hope they do a 360 screen. There was talks about it's going to have a 360 screen, and then they said, no, it's not. And then they're saying that the club is looking for sponsors, someone that would be willing to do the 360. They were talking about maybe Philips, since Barcelona signed a sponsorship deal with Ambilight, which is part of Philips. I really hope they do the 360 screen. I think it would be absolutely sick. But yes, absolutely, I agree 100%. That stadium is going to be spectacular. And Excel Frimpong says we also need 2 fast center backs because Cubarsí is slow. I don't think he's slow. Maybe he's not as fast as Araujo, but I wouldn't say he's slow. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Do you guys think he's slow? Let me know. Let's see. And Bad Boy said Ronald Koeman as a club coach is mediocre, but as a national, he does pretty good. Yeah, because it's 2 different worlds, right? We cannot really compare. It's like when people used to say, wow, Flick failed with Germany, so that means he's going to fail with Barca. And it's like, that's not necessarily true because those are 2 different things, believe it or not. Even though it's still coaching football, it's just a completely different animal. right? Because, with club, you get to choose players, right? You get to say, I want you to sign this guy or sign that guy or bring someone from the academy. National team, you're stuck with whoever has the nationality of the country that you're coaching. Also, with club, you're there every day with those players, day and night. So you can instill your identity, your vision, and teach them how to play the way you want them to play. National team, not so much. You have FIFA international windows here and there, but not enough time to really, really teach them your ways. And then, of course, the competitions are different, right? Doing short tournaments every other summer, it's not the same as playing leagues and cups. It's completely different animals, right? So, yeah, it's not surprising. Let's see. And Sneaky Ninja says, Mo, who would you rather see replace Lewa, eying or Kirasi? That's tough. I'll tell you why. On one hand, Kirasi obviously is more established. He's been around for much longer. He has more experience. Eying is just starting. But if I have to choose, and maybe this is a little bit crazy, but I would go with Eying. Mostly because of the age, right? Kirasi is 29. Dortmund is not going to sell him for €3. They're going to want a hefty price tag. And again, to me, to spend that much money on someone nearing the end of his prime is just not financially feasible. Not the smartest thing to do. Eying is only 21. He hasn't even entered his prime years. So I think economically speaking, he would make more sense. Plus, his price tag would be much less than what Dortmund are going to want for Girassi. Anyway, that's who I would choose. Even though Girassi would be able to hit the ground running, right? You wouldn't have to worry about him adapting. Well, he would need some adaptation because it is a new league, but not as long as someone like Eying, for example. But age-wise, I would much rather go with Eta. And Zach Urban says, maybe because Koeman is well-respected in the national team, no egos there. Maybe, yeah, maybe. Maybe, that's actually a really good point. He is a Dutch legend, and a lot of the players respect him, so maybe that's why, yeah. And finally, Valerian says, Mo, do you follow Under-20 World Cup? Actually, I've been really bad. I said I was going to watch some, but I haven't seen any. I did see that Colombia eliminated Spain at the hands of Neisser Villarreal, someone at Barcelona were heavily interested in signing this summer, but he ended up signing for which Brazilian team? Cruzeiro, I think. And he scored a hat-trick, so I guess Barcelona reports were right about him. But no, I have not been watching. I've been bad. Just not enough time. And Stiggs Ninja says, proper response, Mo, even though I would rather want Kirasi, I hear you, brother. Keep cooking this elite content. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. And on that note, let's end the live stream. A live stream that apparently had a lot of hiccups with the YouTube servers being down. Hopefully, the recording will be available so people will be able to watch it later. Of course, I'll insert the chapters in case you want to just go back and just watch the news and skip the comments. But hopefully, everything is back to normal. I was not aware of the YouTube outage. If I was, maybe I would have canceled the podcast, moved it till tomorrow. But hopefully, you guys were able to watch the rest of it, and hopefully, you'll be able to watch the recording. But anyways, that's it. I think I'll post another video later tonight. There's some stuff I want to cover. Nothing urgent. Mostly statements. You know how it is during FIFA international breaks. It's mostly interviews. But if anything, I'll see you guys in that video. If not, of course, I will see you tomorrow. And of course, do I have to remind you? Like button, subscribe, drop a comment. I will see you guys later. And as always, Visca Barça.